Hello, everybody. Wanted to share with you something that I've been working on. I know it's been a while since my last channel updates, and it's in large part because I've been sidetracked by this very fun, very interesting, very different project. As some of you who've been with me a while will know, I do coding and computer science and programming for fun, and that is not my main job, obviously, but that is a fun thing I did. I have an undergrad degree in computers bioinformatics, so that was way back when. Um, I think at some point I showed some of my games on this channel. Sometimes I haven't, but uh, had this idea, dinked around with ChatGPT a little bit, and I worked on it, and I'm very happy with all the stuff I learned. And I'm just gonna do a series of jump cuts and walk you through the making of Ultimate Crossover. So yeah, let's do this thing. Alrighty, it looks like we're back. Right. So for those of you who haven't used this service yet, this is ChatGPT. What it is well, let's prove it. Ask it. What is ChatGPT? It is an AI service, for free, where you type anything, a question, and it gives you an answer that is AI generated. You can think of it as predictive text. Now, at the most basic level, it functions just like this. It gives you an answer back, right? And as you can see, I have been very busy trying different stuff. The degree of things it can cover is staggering. It's amazing how much it can do. You can start with some basic stuff and then quickly realize it goes well beyond. Compose for me a Dr. Seuss style story about a badger that learns why it has to go to the doctor. This is the poem that it spat out with that as a prompt. And it's actually not bad. It, covers all the parts. So what I did was I'm not sure, I don't even remember now if I went in knowing the game I wanted to make or if it made it for me. It gave me the idea. But let me see if I can find the exact crossover card game design probably. Yeah. I'd like to design a card game that is focused on a mishmash or massive ultra crossover. It will have two major card types, things and events. Things get played and stay in front of you, possibly for some passive benefit. It's actually beneficial. It'll explain the game as we go. Events happen and they're done. The deck is just a giant pile of these cards and everyone draws from it. So they're equally likely to get excellent or broken cards or just basic stuff. The real draw is enjoying a bunch of fictional references. This is the generic AI response, basically boiling down to, yeah, that kind of works, and here are other cool ideas, and don't forget that you need to make it balanced, and it's a hard job. So then I got more specific. Here's what I'm thinking. For example, if F0, I would want Blue Falcon and Fire Stingray as things, and I would want Go Fast as an event, and the Go Fast would let you draw two, and the things would let you destroy a vehicle. Can you think of similar examples for the Super Metroid? So completely different IP. And it spat out Power Suit, Grappling Beam, Missile Expansion, Escape from Planet Zebes, Ripley's Rampage, Morph Ball. All of them very reasonable and kind of in keeping with what you would think they would do. Missile Expansion expands your missile capacity. Grappling Beam lets you move to different locations. Power Suit, passive boost to defense. Here's the problem. These are conceptual ideas. This is a far cry from actually what I need yet, right? But, and that's what I said. It's important to know these are just examples you can come up with your own. And so I got it to be even more specific. Let's keep things simple. Draw two cards per turn, play one or two cards per turn, hand size 5, 40 hit points. When you're out of hit points, game's over. All cards interact with these values primarily. So to piggyback off your ideas, including damage reduced by 1, grappling, trash this to skip another player's turn, etc. Now, it returns with this. An event that allows a player to draw an extra card at the start of their next turn. Escape Planet Deebs, an event that allows the player to win the game if they have a certain amount of hit points remaining. Energy Tank, a thing that increases the player's hit points by 10. So again, it's still just trying to say these are good ideas overall and examples, and you might need to playtest it. In short, it hasn't actually gone the next step and made cards. It's still just coming up with ideas. But because ChatGPT uses what you've already said in the conversation to help decide what to say next, I kept probing it so that I could get more useful output. So I said, give me an example for, oh wait, no, this is the sidetrack where I started talking about art and card art. And then it showed me a card generators, and then I used that link, and well, I'll rewind and go there next. So then I said, give me 10 card designs for Sonic, and it spat out this: Sonic Speed, Ring Shield, Spin Dash, Supersonic Tails, and again, it's still these generic concepts, but it's the kind of thing I could see myself using. Give me 10 from Firefly. Okay, here they go. And I said, actually, give me things that specifically reference key lines. I aim to misbehave, shiny, can't stop the signal. And these are all good stuff. What's a good way to mass prototype these cards? Well, you could use these methodologies. I want to use them in Tabletop Simulator. You can do that. Tabletop Sim works like this. So see, I've gone from not being sure what kind of game I even wanted to make in the first place, right? Having some basic idea to just bouncing ideas off this thing, and it's getting very specific back to me. I'm going to flip forward and see if I can find the next thing. Talk about batch creation, help me find an online card generator. It gave me this list of card generators, and that gave me what I needed to then go and find the one I wanted. So this is where it gets real sexy. I think I've locked down my format. I want title, type, text. So for example, Ridley, thing, deal 1 damage at the start of your turn. Can you give me 10 examples for Donkey Kong Country? And just look at what it produces. DK Barrel, draw a card as a thing that draws a card. Banana Bunch, thing, you may discard a card to gain 2 life. Kong Pow, deal 3 damage to target opponent. This is a usable format. This could be directly imported. If these cards pass playtesting, this is it. The AI just designed 10 cards of my crossover game for me. No work needed. I mean, ish. This is better, but it's hard to import directly to Excel. Think you can use a CSV format with delimiters. So it does it again with delimiters as commas. This format uses commas. And I said, you know what? The problem with commas is you're using that text. Try using it with carets. Boom. I get this. And now I'm going to pause here so I can open Excel and show you what happens next. There we go. Got my Excel open. So now what I was able to do based on that, close out of this stuff that I don't need open here, is literally just take the examples that it gave me, flip them over into, oh wait, there was the, I needed the added step in between of text pad. Paste them into here, text to columns, because it's a CSV and I had to import it. And boom, I have an Excel sheet, 10 cards ready to go. And when I just literally said, okay, perfect, do 10 from The Godfather, boom, 10 more from The Godfather. I just, like, the speed, and I specified here with a focus on movie moments or quotes, right? Because I wasn't sure what other content I would be getting if I had left it wide open. And so again, same thing as before, just tabs, delimitered fields and import more cards. Mario Kart next. See, I don't even specify how many I want. It's picked up on what we're doing here. So it spits out a bunch of Mario cards, and boom, boom, copy it into Excel, and I'm generating this Excel sheet full of cards. Okay, so I'm going to pause this because I want to show the next step in the creation process. So let me pull that up, and I'll just jump back in a second. Okay, we're back. Okay, good. So the next step was this thing called NanDECK. NanDECK, or NanDECK, is a scripting programming language. I don't know how else to describe it. That lets you that works with commands in a simple file to auto-generate cards. It's I guess it's a scripting language designed to help you mass prototype and generate cards. So looking here, I link the Excel file that I want. I set the range all equal to 1 dash however many are available in image file. And let me actually pull up my real Excel sheet while I'm doing this so that you can see what it's drawing from. Ultracrossover.xls. Yeah. I always crash when I do that. Okay, this is it. So title, card type, card text, image file, IP. The images that it creates will be with these parameters, and then it sets different texts. So for example, well, one for a penny and for a pound, build the deck. It sets the text for drawing the title of the card up here, the event, the drawing the thingy versus event over here, drawing any image that I have referenced in the image column here, and the text of the card down here. Then that's all this is doing. So pull from the giant list of cards that I've gotten off the AI, The only missing column is this image file one. To make that prove to be the hardest part of this project, I asked it if there's a way to rapidly pull Google image search results from a card I named, and it gave me some ideas of how. And I said, okay, show me the script that would do that. And it just wrote this. This is a script that takes as search terms whatever you want for search terms, right? So I could easily replace this with the stuff from my CSV file, imports the appropriate packages, then searches Google image, uses Beautiful Soup to parse it, pulls the first image source, and then loops through and downloads that. But you notice how all this text is in orange? Apparently, this could be a Google Terms of Service violation because this is called a scraper, and you're not allowed to scrape Google images. So this follow-up conversation is me trying to understand that. I didn't know that. I had no idea. And it basically says, instead, can you generate a script that accomplishes the same task using the API? Because it was saying, I strongly recommend blah, 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 blah. You should consider using the official APIs to access it so that you're not violating any terms of service. Sure, can you rewrite it using an API? Absolutely. Boom. Completely different script. Does the same thing legally. Problem is, you have to pay for this API or have a Google project set up, and I didn't want to futz with that. So I ended up going a different route and just doing it by hand since it wasn't that complicated a project. And let me pause here so that I can show you that step. Me back? Okay, good. Right, so what I would do here is I would basically take a group of titles, right, and copy paste them into Google image search, delete all except the first one, search for it, download an appropriate image into the folder and rename it appropriately, paste back in, delete all except the first word, search for the next one, etc. And one by one, I would download images for all of this. Now, obviously, this goes without saying. This means I can never sell this game, market this game, or mass produce it. This is all copywritten imagery, and that's fine. This is purely for my own fun, but that is how I went about doing this and filling up this folder with just an obscene amount of images, one for every card that was generated, some of them better than others, I admit. And that was the next phase of this project. So let's review where we're at. We started with telling ChatGPT, I'm thinking of making a card game, then specifying what kind of cards would exist in the game, then it deciding what parts of each IP were worth carding, and some of these cards actually really do fit the theming of the thing that it's referencing, others less so. Some like, okay, cloaking device. Choose an opponent's card in play and put it in your hand. That's not really a cloaking device. That's more of a transporter effect or stealing, right? Jordy's visor. Whenever you draw a card, draw an extra card. That implies kind of like Jordy's cheating and drawing extra cards. It's not really what a visor does, right? Wharf. Whenever you deal damage, you may deal an additional damage. Now that's just wharf, right? That's legit. Tactical maneuver. Discard your hand and draw that many cards. Okay, that's a tactical maneuver. I'll buy that. Phaser blast. Deal 2 damage. That's legit. I'll buy that. So I'm not saying it developed perfect cards by any stretch, but some of them were really good. Holodeck Adventure. Choose a card from your discard pile and put it in your hand. Oh, that's actually kind of a blast from the past holodeck thing to do. So anyway, I added a bunch of IPs to this stuff, and I'm not going to go one by one. What I ended up doing, though, is as I was copying these into the Excel sheet, if I saw something that I really wanted to tweak a little or I had a better idea, I would modify some of them. So I would argue 70-80% of these cards are straight AI generated, 20-30 are mine, and there's obviously a lot here. Ooh, I need Power Rangers. I gotta add Power Rangers to this. Then I went ahead and said, look, this is all of the stuff that we've put in so far. I want you to be consistent with this when you go forward. And then I said, can we try some more complicated ideas? And then that broke it because it started giving me card ideas that were too complex for what I had in mind. So then I kind of went back. Anyway, TLDR, this is what the ChatGPT side of thing was all about. I'm going to flip screens again here and go to the next. Where am I going? I don't have it open yet, do I? Oh, there it is. So by using the card generator, I was able to spit out this. A giant table with all of the card images and cards set up in a neat little grid, which is like, what, 10 by 7? Yeah, so 70 per sheet. Why is this image important? Because of Tabletop Simulator, and I will pause and get that loaded. Okay, and here we are, Tabletop Simulator. Let's get out of the browser searcher, I don't need that. Create. Okay, so why Tabletop Simulator? What does it do? Tabletop Simulator, for those of you who don't know, is a great place to try out random games online and simulate having an actual tabletop surface. You can do some Netrunner stuff on here, but gentechie.net is probably better. Anyway, so then we go blah blah blah, components, cards. I need a custom deck. Create a custom deck here, modify it. This deck should have 70 cards drawn from, because again, we used the, what's it called? The NanDECK program to generate these. I think I called it default background or something. Yeah, default background, perfect. And it just parses through and makes the deck. And let's go ahead and make another one. Unfortunately, this is a limitation of the program. You have to generate them in sets of 70. You can't have a master sheet that's big enough for all of them at once. But, you know, this is still, this is small potatoes problems. It's not a huge issue by any stretch of imagination. What happened? Did I mess up the deck? I just delete this deck. Custom deck. Face needs to be set to local files back, default back, local 70 import. Okay, we got 2 decks. And I don't know how many cards are in the last set. I'm going to assume 15-ish, give or take. Let's call it 15-ish. And we'll take a look to see if this is close. Whoa. What did I just do? Well, these ones are real, obviously. These blank ones are not. Flip. And there we go. We have a deck of cards. So, let's take a look, see what the finished product is. Start the game, draw 5. Don Corleone, at the start of your turn, draw a card once per turn. Hadouken event, deal 3 damage. Deal 3 damage, take control of a thing, draw 2 extra cards at the start of your turn. Wait, what is that? But discard 2 cards at the end of your next turn. Your opponent whose turn comes before you takes 10 damage, and yeah, that's an opening hand. So, the way the game would work, I don't know a faster way to do this. I'm still tweaking it, obviously, because it's completely unplay tested and it's all AI driven. My biggest problem that I've noticed so far is that 40 HP seems like too much starting HP, so I'm going to drop that to 30 this time around. Also, that things are a little too hard to remove. There aren't enough remove thing events, so holding off on that. But let me see if my rules. No, the rules I written down didn't apply. So yeah, in the game you would draw 5 cards. On the start of your turn, you draw 2 cards and you play 2 cards unless something says otherwise. So, for example, if this is the opening hand, at the start of your turn, this is a good thing to play. This is a good thing to hang on to and use later. This is just pain. So, yeah, we do that. Okay, so we're going to play Don Corleone for my first turn, and for my second play, Zangief, 10 damage. Well, that's painful enough. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to draw 2. I should have drawn 2 at the start of turn. Ooh, wow, nasty. Okay, so on my opponent's turn, and I'm obviously going to have to play for my opponent here because I don't have one, he would draw 1 card at the start of turn or 2 cards if his hand is empty, so drawing 1 for now. Deal 2 damage to all opponents, and they discard a card at random. Not a big deal. And draw 2 cards. If you have a fighter thing in play, trash target thing. Here's a fighter. You may destroy this card to ignore any 1 instance of damage. Look at the rearrange the deck. Start and deal 2 damage. Okay, well, first we play Ryu for sure. Whenever you play a card, draw 1 and gain 1 HP. And second, we play EX. Draw 2 cards. If you have a fighter thing in play, trash target thing. There is a fighter thing in play, so trash this. And draw 2. Hand size 5 at end of turn, so it's got to discard. Probably discard the thing that discards your hand is reasonable. Uh, yeah, stacking the deck is not that strong an effect. Okay, so turn is over, and it would be... Jeez, I'm very bad at messing with Tabletop Simulator. Okay, so now it would be my turn. So draw 1 for turn. Don Corleone is gone. Whenever an opponent plays an event, you may discard a card to draw a card. Well, that's very powerful. Um, Deal 3 damage to opponent and gain control of one of their things. Yeah, definitely. So we're gonna steal Ryu from him. 3 damage. And yoink. Ours. Alright, his turn. At this point, I've done what I needed to do in terms of showing you how the game works and what it's like. What I like about it is all the IPs feel fun. I'm not going to go so far as to say they all feel fitting. And just what time is it? No, we got a few minutes. All right, let's just look at 15 cards or 20 cards together, and then I'll call it, or I'll just play some more on my own. Godfather's Revenge. Target opponents may trash any number of things in play. Then deal 3 damage to target opponent for each of their things in play. Okay, so you can destroy all your own stuff, or else the Godfather will come and shoot you for all of it. That's kind of sweet. DK Wrap. Draw 4 cards and end your turn. Love it. Super Combo Event. Deal 6 damage to target player. Well, it makes sense to have a super combo duel. That it's not personal, Sonny. It's strictly business. Deal 2 damage to target opponent for each card in their hand. Great Fox. Player draw +1 card per turn, but only if you have at least 5 cards. That's actually clever, because unless you have a full complement of R-Wings, inevitably the ship is in the docking bay. Red Pill. Only play this card if Blue Pill is in play. Gain an extra turn. Nice. See the reality. Neuromancer +2 max hand size. Blooper. Each opponent discards a card. X-Wing. Draw an extra card at the start of turn or play 1 extra card. So draw or play. Starman. Invincibility. Gain invincibility until your next turn. Perfect. These cards are actually feeling more and more like Tractor Beam. Search an opponent's hand and pull 1 card into your hand. Nice. Whenever you play a card, gain 1 HP. That doesn't really feel like Cammy to me. The Power of the Fool. So deal 2 damage per living thing you control amongst our... Okay, so this the AI didn't do. This I did. Some of these will reference specific properties of a thing, right? Being alive, being dead, having being a vehicle, being electronic. Technically speaking, in Magic, there would have to be subtypes that meant that. But this is not Magic. This is a casual game. So it's up to the players to decide if Worf qualifies as living or not. Usually you're going to get agreement between players, but I almost encourage there to be friendly conflict if there's a borderline case, debate your case. You may discard a card to draw 2 cards once per turn. Oh, that's fun. Oh, yeah. So some effects were way too powerful if they were static effects, so I went back and told it in batches of 30 to rewrite effects that drew cards to limit them to once a turn on in general. And this rewrite once per turn is specifically because it did that. I only got about 60 cards through the card pool on that, but yeah, it was a cool little revision that the thing was capable of. You cannot take damage. Do a barrel roll. You cannot take damage till your next turn, and your things cannot be trashed. Now that's a barrel roll. That's a barrel roll. So yeah, huge fan. I found this a lot of fun to play so far. Decidedly not up to the caliber of the game I usually play, but fun enough. That should do it. I'm gonna play against myself for 5 more minutes because the video is not a half hour yet, and because I'm already having fun. And then be done with it. Okay, so what did we just do here? We Batarang stole Ryu and played the cat. Okay, so now it's opponent's turn. Opponent would draw once per turn. And let's take a look at these cards. Destroy this card to ignore instances of damage. Discard and draw. Each opponent discards a card, then you draw a card for each card discarded. Yeah, that's not strong enough. At the start of your turn, deal 2 damage to target opponent. Very good. Deal 2 damage to all opponents, and they discard. Good. 6 damage. Okay, so 8 damage is not unreasonable. So probably drop the Aperture Science turret. and just hit for 6. The Ryu will not trigger. The companion cube does trigger on an event being played. I can discard to draw. Probably will discard holodeck. No, toolkit. hmm To draw a card instead. Very nice. Okay, and take the 6 damage, of course. Now, one of the rule mods that I'm working on that I think is reasonable is that all things are presumed to have 3 damage or 3 hit points. So you can destroy a thing by attacking it instead of attacking your opponent. Okay, my turn. Draw 1 for turn. Whenever you play a card, draw 1 and gain 1 HP. Well, that's really powerful. It means you can never run out of cards. Alright, so we're going to play holodeck because there are some incredibly dangerous events in the trash right now. And because of Ryu, we gain 1 HP, and we draw 1 card. We'll play Diddy Kong, I guess? And Diddy Kong will trigger it because it doesn't specify start of turn. Discard a card to draw 2 cards seems very reasonable. Now that's a Jordy's Visor revision. Okay, and because we played a card, we draw a card and gain 1 HP. And we have to discard because we're above hand size, and I think the most reasonable thing to get rid of is just 3 damage to target. That's kind of slow. Okay, start of turn. We take 2 damage from Aperture Science Turret. He draws a card, and it's his turn. Target opponent may trash any number of things. If not, they take a boatload of damage. 12 damage, that's a huge hit. Uh, yeah, so that's the obvious play here. Trash any number of things or else take 12 damage. Well, since it's an event, the companion cube, draw 1, discard 1 plays, and we get rid of Kong Pao for sure. That's not the most valuable card. 12 damage is too much. I need to sack at least one of these. This keeps my hand topped off. This one lets me dig for better stuff. This one keeps my hand full every time my opponent plays an event. This one skips my turn, but lets me play massively damaging events from the trash. Let's play into holodeck for the next couple turns, so I will just pitch. Actually, I don't want to pitch any of these. I guess the conditional dig on companion cube can go, and I'll just take 9. Okay, so that was the first play, and the next play would be discard and draw 4. Just not unreasonable. Morph Ball for protection is actually a good move too. So yeah, you may curl into a Morph Ball to ignore any one instance of damage. That's the turn. Alright. Player turn, nothing happens, nothing happens. Whenever you play a card, draw a card, gain 1 HP. Okay, so draw 1 card for starting the turn. There's the blue pill. Remember the red pill only works if you have the blue pill in play. The blue pill gives you 5 HP. So here's the problem. What I want to do is, at the start of your turn, you may skip your turn to play one event from the trash instead of your hand. If you do, shuffle it back in the deck. If we did that, we could play any one event from here, which would mean we could Zenji for 10, or we could super combo for 6, and that would put our opponent on their back. Problem is, they just got Morph Ball, so they would just get rid of it that way, so it's not good enough right now. Let's do... If we were playing with new rules where you could destroy things by dealing 3 damage, I would Lightning Bolt against Morph Ball to get rid of it on purpose, so that I'd freed the board for next turn. But since we weren't playing that variant, let's put Ridley down, and we trigger Ryu. Uh, And Luca Brasi or DK Barrel. Luca if I'm trying to kill him for damage, and DK Barrel if I'm trying to dig for cards. I don't need cards that badly right now, so we'll amplify my damage further. And that's another Ryu trigger. This is why I was starting to go back and parse it, that anything that draws you a card on a thing needs to be only once per turn. The strength of these is too high. Energy Tank, when it's placed in front of you, gain 5 HP. Well, that's just appropriate. I'm going to trigger Diddy Kong to discard and draw 2. And we're going to discard Jordy's Visor because in a meta sense it's pointless when you're playing both sides. Ooh! Okay, Dr. Robotnik I slightly redesigned. The original was that when you place this in front of you, take a thing from another player and put it in front of you. In short, Robotnik goes and steals something. But I added the clause, at the end of turn you may lose HP to return Dr. Robotnik to your hand. So you can play him, steal an opponent's thing, take 8 damage, pull it back to your hand. So that next turn you can play him, steal something, pull it back to your hand. Trade your HP for your damage, basically. And Rambi, you may discard a card to deal 2 damage to target opponent once per turn. So, yeah. Power up, deal 2 damage, but doesn't take an action to do it, which is pretty sweet. Let's pitch the Cyber Deck upgrade. If it wasn't worth playing now, it's never going to be worth playing. And probably gain 5 HP is a little slow. I'd rather deal 3, gain 3, so that can go. Boop, boop, boop. At the end of turn, deal 1 damage to target opponent, which he is not going to ignore with this. This is start of turn trigger. That's that. Okay, opponent's turn. Start of turn, I take 2. He draws 1 for turn. He draws, not me. Target opponent loses 2 electronic things. Well, the holodeck is definitely an electronic thing, and you can argue whether this is Mecha Ridley or actual Ridley, but obviously I wouldn't make that argument, so it would just be to trash the holodeck, which he doesn't need to do desperately enough right now. Deal 2 damage to all opponents. They discard random. Discard your hand. Yeah, this hand sucks, so first action to discard and draw that many, now that the event Punisher isn't in play, makes sense. Whenever an opponent plays an event card, you may draw a card. Trash this card to draw 2 cards and skip your opponent's next turn. Wait, the fuck? Oh, that's just great. Okay, so play the Keymaker, trash him, draw 2 cards, skip opponent's next turn. End of turns triggers does nothing. Start of turn trigger 2 damage to a target opponent. Start of turn deal 1, max hand size, up steal a thing, gain 8 HP. Play this only if you took damage after your most recent turn. Did he deal damage last turn? Yes, on account of Luca Brasi. So you can play the EMH event to gain 8 HP, or you could steal a thing or play Guinan. What things are worth stealing? Probably we play Transporter and get Ryu back, both for healing as well as card efficiency, and play the EMH to go to 24, plus 1 for Ryu. Oh, that goes here. Plus 1 for Ryu. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And of course, draw a card. Once per turn, deal 3 damage to any target. This card is trashed after 4 uses. That's just insane. So, play passes back to player 1. Start of turn, deal 1 damage to an opponent. That's the only thing that says. Draw 1 for turn. All players skip their next turn. Well, I know one thing we're playing. Next turn skipped, although that will trigger his Guinan effect. Did he play Guinan? He played Ryu, and he played... I think he didn't play it, because it's not on the right line. Alright, I'm past my half hour. That's the game. It's kind of fun to fiddle with. I have found it entertaining enough that I played a full round with somebody off the internet, and that's a good sign when your game's fun enough to play. I call it Ultimate Crossover. I hope you all enjoyed watching this, and more than anything, I hope you all enjoyed seeing the power of ChatGPT. Inspired me, somebody who has never made a custom deck in Tabletop Simulator, never heard of NanDECK, didn't know it existed, never attempted this kind of rapid prototyping, and I just kept asking it how do I do it, and it kept teaching me. And this whole project took 2-3 hours to do. The longest part was downloading the images. So, yeah. pretty sweet, pretty cool learning tool. I hope you all enjoy this and see why why I've been busy. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time.